I know one group I'm in that I add in, I can choose to get a specific person and pre-approve them. But everybody else gets posted anyway.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I took that completely off because I didn't like that. I wanted people to be able to
Yeah,
post freely.
yeah.
Council meeting for November 12th, 2024 at 7 p.m. is called to order. May I get roll call?
Mayor Candace Machado,
Here.
Councilmember Dacia Edwards,
Here.
Councilmember Greg Plustig,
Here.
Councilmember Phil Gerke,
Here.
Councilmember Alana Bino,
Here.
County Attorney Scott Murray,
Here.
County Engineer Shane Porter,
Here.
Town Treasurer Lexi Erickson,
Here.
Chief of Police Mike Thompson,
Here.
Fire Chief Leo Malsom,
Here.
Public Works Director Robert Llewellyn,
Here.
Town Clerk Janelle Underwood, and the rest of the citizens.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? All motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? A, approval of minutes for work session and regular meeting October 28th, 2024. B, approval of business license KNB Construction LLC. And C, approval of the bills.
I move. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Line item 2, public comments. Do I have public comments? Public comments. Public comments are closed. Line item 3, ratify mayor's signature Crown Castle lease agreement amendment.
Madam Mayor and Council, brought before you tonight is the First Amendment to the amended and restated site lease agreement that was approved at the last council meeting. And I just need ratification for the mayor's signature on that lease agreement.
Do I have a ratification for mayor's signature for Crown Castle lease agreement amendment?
I so move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Line item 4, Councilman Gerke on Curtis Street Railroad Crossing update.
Well, guess what? We got delayed a week. No, they could not get the asphalt until next Wednesday. So, and the planks out are all delivered. They're sitting there beside the railroad tracks. They're all ready to go. The plan is next Wednesday and Thursday, supposedly the batch plant's supposed to be open and they will get it fixed. And I really do feel the guy I'm working with knows what he's doing. So hopefully it'll be a fix that we won't have to do anymore after this time. So that's where we're at.
And that the road's gonna be closed
The road's gonna be closed for
For
2
those-
days.
for Wednesday and Thursday?
Yeah,
Okay.
part of the reason that they have to close it, last time they opened it too early. And when the traffic started going across there, it actually pushed the asphalt in underneath the planks. And that's part of the problem now is they gotta tear it completely out, because if they try to take one out without doing the other, it's just all gonna come anyway, so. Anyway, hopefully they'll have that, so it'll be closed a full 2 days.
Okay, thank you for the update.
Mhm.
Line item 5, ordinance number 14-2024, parking on the first reading.
Madam Mayor and Council, brought before you tonight is ordinance 14-2024. This is an ordinance repealing section 38-1-13 parking fines and adopting a new municipal code, section 38-1-13 parking. Brought before you tonight on first reading. This is an ordinance that is probably seeing quite a bit of overhaul on the recommendation of the police department. It's brought before you tonight on first reading.
Any discussion?
So what's the difference basically between this and the old ordinance?
The old ordinance is just, it's not even governing parking, it's governing fines. So essentially, what we're using is state statute for parking enforcement stuff, by statute. And where this came about was a citizen emailed Mayor Machado about some issues they're having near a establishment in town where there's a lot of parking after hours. And it's kind of an interesting circumstance because they have driveways, but we don't have curb and gutter in the street area. And there's other parts in town that have similar issues. So with the way the statutes are written for parking, it doesn't really help the landowners, with people parking in driveways or on their property, when they're parking in the middle of the night. So with that, Mayor Machado asked me to look into it. So I researched what other municipalities are doing. Municipalities can use either the state statute and or they create their ordinances for, like this case, parking. And so this language comes from a three-tiered thing. Some of it's from Cheyenne, some's from Laramie, and some's from Rollins. Each municipality had some language that I felt would work well for us here to address some of these parking concerns that were brought to Mayor Machado and some of the other little things that we see in town.
Okay, so on this one, what are the penalties? The
So
new one?
There's no prescribed penalties in this. So by that, what'll happen is the judge will get to set a bond.
Okay,
One thing that it does open a door for is if a citizen calls because somebody's parked in their driveway, because it's a right of way, since then we, if we can't find the registered owner or the driver of it, we can tow that vehicle out of their driveway for them at this point. Where under the statute, you have to essentially tag it unless it's an emergency situation type safety thing, tag it, then it has to sit so long. And a lot of people, they come and go through the driveways. So this opens the door so that if we can't locate these people, we can tow the vehicle. Obviously, any citations can be written. And now, again, if you want to put a prescribed penalty, and you can as the governing body, however, I left it open so that the judge could set that if you want.
right. Because I guess the one thing I was thinking was the area that that the mayor is talking about and everybody, it's probably people that don't live here. Okay, so it's a little bit different situation than people that actually live here. And I guess I didn't want to, I had a little bit of a concern with getting into a confrontation where people feel like they're being picked on, but, so that there was at least some kind of a warning system that if, but I know you have the officer discretion and stuff in there. I did read that. So.
In general, we do try to locate the driver owner,
Mhm.
say, please move your vehicle. However, at 10 o'clock, midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning, that always isn't going to happen.
Sure.
And some people go to work at midnight and stuff like that. So that's part of why that's that way, so that we can address that as needed.
Okay, and then one other thing that I had that was a little bit, so the area of concern, is that gonna be marked, even though I've driven by there several times, but there's really, like you say, it's not really defined
Correct.
always, but so are we gonna have to go in and mark some of those areas with the yellow line?
A couple areas we'll post some signs in there and stuff that says
Okay.
parking. And then
Okay,
I'm gonna visit with the landowner a little bit about some of that particular area in there, so it's more defined on their end as well.
okay. So is there any responsibility, sorry, I got these all kind of in my mind. So is there any responsibility that goes back to the business owner? It just is what it is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you can't hold, because they're public streets, and
Right.
generally, people can
Right.
park wherever on public streets unless it's marked otherwise,
Right.
which is part of what we're doing.
And then lastly, this probably isn't politically correct, but I'm on a short leash, so. Anyway, Curtis Street has been an issue since I've been in Evansville, which is almost 8 years, that it's kind of like a rule that you have to park on the sidewalk because everybody else does. So I guess my concern is like I live over on Eagle Trail. Well, if I park mine up on the sidewalk and I get a ticket, and in the meantime, I'm driving by and I go by Curtis Street and every vehicle there is parked up on the sidewalk. Now, I'd have a problem as a citizen.
Well, we already have an ordinance about parking on sidewalks. Now, we typically respond to it as when people call and complain. So this ordinance would be similar. So like if the citizens are calling complaining, we're gonna respond the same way we currently are. Probably the biggest change really is the opening up of dealing with driveways and right-of-way areas
Right.
where people need to be coming and
Right.
going, so we can deal with that and not have to spend hours on end trying to chase people down in the middle of the night that we're never gonna find.
Okay, so now I'm kind of getting back to where I want to get, okay? What if we didn't worry about parking on the sidewalks? Okay, is in this ordinance, but we do have a concern with parking in somebody's driveway, within the measurements and stuff of the driveways, that type of thing, but take out the verbiage that has to do with parking on the sidewalk. Because then it maybe becomes maybe not even a police matter, maybe more of a code enforcement that, hey, you gotta at least leave enough room to let somebody walk through there. But then we aren't getting into that type of situation, because as long as I can get my car in and out of my driveway, I guess, to be honest about it, if somebody parked up on my sidewalk a little bit, I probably don't care. And I also don't want to be a tattletale. I don't want to be the one that as a citizen, I don't want to have to make that call and complain. Now I got my neighbor mad at me because, their Aunt Helen was in town and she parked up on the sidewalk, and that old man across the street turned us in, I got a problem with citizen enforcement. Part of this goes back to the trailers and the recreational vehicles and all that stuff parked out into the street. To me, it's not like we've got 100 miles of roads in Evansville that should be a police matter. I can just give you an example. My granddaughter, at her place, and I've never been down that street before, but here's this boat that sat there all winter last winter. Well, somebody had to have noticed that, and I just don't think it's right that we have to create a conflict with the neighbors. But I don't know. I would just like to maybe have us just entertain not worrying about somebody parking on the sidewalk, because that's really not what, to me, the intent of this is. But it is a problem if somebody's parking in my driveway. Now that's a problem. Does that make sense?
I understand it. I would caution against not having an ordinance about parking on sidewalks, because we spend a lot of money through grants to put them in so people have them to walk on. And if you eliminate those, then essentially everybody wants to park on them and then they're not accessible. We use, like Curtis Street, because of the narrowness between 3rd and 5th, we use discretion so that if the sidewalk's not completely blocked, we don't generally go unless somebody actually is complaining, because we understand, if you're not parked a little bit up on there, that really narrows it down and people are getting their mirrors hit all through there. So I don't foresee us changing how we enforce parking. We're just looking for a little more tool to deal with the driveway side of this. But I would caution to not have that, because again, if we don't have anything, then people are gonna be parking all over the sidewalks, which defeats the purpose, and then we have the wear and tear on the sidewalks.
Well, and I guess my problem there is that cause I drive down that street quite a bit, cause that's where I gotta get to my house. But I constantly see people out walking their dogs or just walking, and they're having to walk out in the street because there's not room on the sidewalk, even if there's just one vehicle, but they're parked, butt to butt, and there's nowhere to okay, I can't. And to me, a few mirrors is no great big deal, but if we have a citizen that gets run over because somebody was parked up on the sidewalk, to me, that is an issue. And to be real honest about it, if we're not gonna enforce it, let's not pass it. Just simple. Why do we want an ordinance we're not gonna enforce?
We do enforce it when people have specific
If people
complaints.
complain.
Right.
But that's not the same. I'm saying,
You're saying two different things.
no, I'm saying,
You
no,
very much are. You're saying two different things. You're saying, let's get rid of the ordinance so people can park on the street. And then your next verbiage is, well, now we got people walking out in the street. Now they're going to get hit. It's one or the other.
Well-
Pick a side.
well, that's what I'm saying, though, is what it comes down to is either we do one or the other. I don't care which, but let's do one or the other. If we're gonna have the ordinance, let's enforce it. If we're not gonna enforce it, let's don't have the ordinance, is what I'm saying. That's my piece.
My only question was on L. It says, would be the stopping, standing, park, or vehicle, trailer, or recreation. It says in the front yard of any residential property within the town that is not designed driveway or parking area as defined or unless otherwise allowed by the town's zoning code. So it's pretty much just saying you can't park in your front yard at all? If it's your property, you should be able to park in your front yard if you want to. I know probably your neighbors don't like it, but it's your property. I know that you can only have so many vehicles per our other codes that are unlicensed, but they have to be tarped. But I think if it's in your yard, as long as you are not going over I believe you can only have one car, that is not a current license.
The language reflects the zoning side of it, so whatever the zoning says is allowed, that's why the language is written that way. And currently the zoning language is very open, that you can literally park and dump oil on your yard if you want. So unless the zoning is changed, it doesn't mean you can't park in your yard. It just simply says whatever the zoning is defining as the parking in your front area. So two parts. So unless you change the zoning definition of parking is where that's going. But currently under the zoning, if you want to park your camper in front of your yard in your yard or your leaky diesel pickup, you can currently do that by the zoning regulation definition.
Okay, because that's where I was just obviously I wasn't sure what our zoning was or with anything else, but I was going by the verbiage before that of you can't park in the front yard. And it's well.
But again, as zoning code,
Mhm.
so that's where the definition is.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Nope, that was all I needed.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve ordinance number 14-2024 parking on first reading?
I so move.
I'll second.
Any opposed? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Line item 6, authorization for mayor to execute Homeland Security Grant UTV.
Madam Mayor and Council, brought before you tonight is a grant award agreement between the Wyoming Office of Homeland Security and the town of Evansville, and this is for a grant application that the fire department received approval on for UTV, and the federal award amount is $33,732, and I'm just looking for authorization for the mayor to execute.
Any discussion, questions? Do I have a motion for authorization for mayor to execute Homeland Security Grant UTV?
I move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Line item 7, authorization for mayor to execute Homeland Security Grant spreader package.
Madam Mayor and Council, brought before you tonight is grant award agreement between Wyoming Office of Homeland Security and the town of Evansville. This is for a grant that the fire department had applied for $18,267. That is the award amount, and this is for a spreader package, also known as the Jaws of Life, brought before you for approval for the mayor to execute.
Any discussion?
Do we have one of those already?
They're just new ones. Cause the other ones are 20
Oh,
years
there he
old.
is. I was like, I swear I heard him.
The other ones are old and outdated. so
No,
they
that's
can-
great. I just was curious if that was something that we had access to. Cool.
Do I have a motion to approve authorization for mayor to execute Homeland Security Grant spreader package?
All motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll
Second.
second.
Janelle, did you get that?
I did.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Line item 8, authorization for mayor to execute Homeland Security Grant cybersecurity intrusion.
Madam Mayor and Council, brought before you tonight is a grant award agreement between the Wyoming Office of Homeland Security and the town of Evansville. This is for a grant for cyber security intrusion that was applied for the town of Evansville. The federal award amount is $51,350, and that's brought before you tonight, looking for authorization for the mayor to execute.
Any discussion? Do I have a motion to approve authorization for mayor to execute Homeland Security Grant cybersecurity intrusion?
I'll move.
Motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Like, I'm not sure which one counted.
No, you guys are okay.
I'm just like,
Click on it up there.
you never know.
Line item 9, engineers report.
All right,
Mr.
thank you.
Porter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. So a few things tonight. On the Lathrop Pathway Project, I have draw request number 13. Drawdown request number 13 includes Crown Construction's pay request number 5 and WLCN's invoices for construction engineering. The total of the invoices is $76,421.67. The grant covers 80%, so the total drawdown request is $61,137.34. It leaves a total balance on the grant of $107,315.93. So just recommend a motion for the mayor to sign and submit drawdown request number 13.
Any questions, discussion? Do I have a motion to approve drawdown request number 13?
I move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Wasn't in my report, but I thought I just might mention here, the town did get a letter indicating that we were recommended for award for phase 2 of the Lathrop Pathway Project. So we should be seeing a grant agreement from YDOT here in the next month or so, or maybe sooner. But they did recommend award for the next phase of that project. So it'll be nice to get it finished. Next thing I have is on the Reshaw Park project. I have pay application number 5 from from Installation and Services Company. The total pay request is for $118,433.25. It's for work completed from September 23rd through October 30th. We're holding 5% retainage for a total retainage on this pay request of $5,921.66. So the total amount due on pay request number 5 is $112,511.59. So just recommend a motion for the mayor or for the town to pay Installation and Services Company for pay request number 5 on the park project.
Do I have a motion for
Can
pay
I
request
ask a-
number 5?
Can I just ask a quick question?
Absolutely.
We're talking about the playground?
Yep.
Is that correct? So where are we at on that?
I'm gonna say we're roughly, we're in the 90-95% complete. It
Okay.
should be completed, I expect completion the first week of December. Contractor's working through this week, and then the Leathers Playground Equipment is coming back the next week to supervise the final few things to put together, and then they'll be putting in the fall protection, the engineered wood fiber, the first week of December. So it should be complete. Hopefully, weather's always an issue this time of year, but hopefully complete first week of December.
So, and we're pretty much staying within budget, is that right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. I don't know if, I drive by there once in a while just see how it's going, but I was just wondering about something, and this is just a thought. I don't know what that street is that when you're driving down and you're in the new section over there and you drive down and it dead ends, the street dead ends.
Whipsaw.
Is that what it is?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. Is there a reason that that's blocked off, or does it have to be blocked off? Do you know?
Oh, you're talking, I got you, in the Reshaw subdivision.
Mhm.
You know, there was something, it's open for discussion. It was something the council at the time requested that it be closed off. I honestly don't remember the reasoning, if anybody does. But it was a discussion when that subdivision was built. And it was I believe a kind of a council decision to require it to be closed. So
Would it be,
I don't really know.
would it be possible to, I don't know whose
I think
jurisdiction that is or whatever, but could that
think
be looked into?
Yeah, I think a town decision and a town discussion, maybe a work session or something, but it could be something with some discussion. Maybe we'll remember or look back and see why it was closed. But I don't know if it was just to limit traffic through there.
Chief,
Mayor, Councilman, although it was before my time, my understanding is the reason that's closed off is to limit the amount of traffic that would flow through the subdivision, if that was not closed off, is my understanding. So there's that question.
Because I guess my thought is that if you came out there, you're like a block away from you're real close to the park or to the new playground, and you wouldn't have to, I don't know, it was just a thought. I don't know how much traffic would go through there, I don't, that's why I was asking, I just didn't know.
I think it's a good discussion to be had.
Okay, but it was just a thought. Thank you, Mayor.
thank you. Mr. Porter,
Did we do a motion on that? or-
we did not. I'm trying to keep
Somebody interrupt.
I'm just like, and I'm waiting for Mr. Porter. Okay,
Yeah, so just recommend a motion to pay the contractor for pay request number 5.
do I have a motion for approval of pay request number 5?
I'll motion.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Motion passes.
So the final thing I have is also on the park as well. It's a change order. It's a no cost change order. The original completion date for the park was September 15th for substantial and final completion on October 1st. Due to material, just lead times on materials and scheduling for Leathers to come into town, it didn't even start until September 23rd. So we've been kind of, they've been over time, but it wasn't a major issue because we knew the reasonings. But just to address what's in the contract, I recommend a change order to change those completion dates. I've got recommended to change it to December 14th for substantial and final completion on December 30th. And like I mentioned, weather pending, it should be completed early December. So just recommend a motion to have the mayor execute a change order number 2 to extend the completion dates on the park project.
Do I have a motion to change order number 2 for the completion date change?
I move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
And that's all I have.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the engineer's report?
I'll motion.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Good.
We've got a lot of doubles tonight.
Greg's been real quiet
Okay.
tonight, so.
All those
Lot of
in favor?
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. All right, line item 10, public comments. Any public comments from the audience? Public comments from the audience. All right, This is our official statement of the Evansville mayor and the female council members. You are also more than welcome to stand, gentlemen, if you'd like. We are here to gather as individual people for the betterment of the town of Evansville. We are a mayor, councilwomen, mothers, caregivers, business owners, social worker, student, foster parent, advocates of human rights, educators, and human beings. We are here to invoke change as your elected mayor and councilwomen. Therefore, we are officially announcing that we do not support or condone discrimination, hatred of any kind, bigotry, racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, violence, or emotionally charged rhetoric of any kind by any person. We will not be involved in or support of any person who believes that human rights do not matter for all citizens. We believe that people that hold public offices should act in a respectful, professional, and supportive manner, not just for some people, but for all people they serve. We serve all the residents in Evansville, not just some. We will remain a beacon of hope for those in Natrona County and throughout Wyoming. Our voice matters, our lives matter, we matter. We will now be taking a minute of silence to instill the hope and the fact that we will be supporting all residents, no matter color, sex, their feelings, their thoughts, their behaviors, and we will not be condoning any form of discrimination whatsoever, whether it be on this council, as residents in this community, or in this state or this country. Our minute of silence starts now. Ladies. Any additional public comments? Last call for public comments. Public comments are closed. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I so move.
All those in favor?
Who's gonna second?
I'll second.
Alana second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Adjournment at 7:34 PM.